Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Of course, last week with the Season 5 Reloaded updates, the update itself kind of broke almost everything with Call of Duty. Things in Black Ops 6 broke, a ton of stuff in Warzone broke. Luckily, for whatever reason, kind of behind the scenes, kind of secretly, the devs have responded to a lot of these broken things going on in game. Broken damage profiles, broken weapons, bugs and glitches galore, features that are now just missing. They have actually responded to a lot of them, just not super publicly. Usually they post about a lot of stuff saying, hey, we're looking into this, we're investigating that. Not so much this time for some reason. We're here in the COD Updates Twitter account, and dating back to the 4th when the update first dropped, we covered these last week in my original, hey, everything's broken video. But they talked about how Ninja's not working. They talked about some stuff going on with TPM 2.0 and it not recognizing. They talked about buy stations and stuff going on, Battle Royale solos. The only new thing that they've talked about here that we hadn't yet covered was actually the Reclaimer 18 shotgun being disabled. This was because they broke the damage profiles. This is a part of a larger issue where if you use the Akimbo Jack Devastators on the Reclaimer 18, it could one-shot up close because it wasn't acting as if you were using two shotguns. It had the damage profile of one shotgun a piece, so you could fry up close. That was obviously super overpowered. The problem here is that they don't just balance it, they disable it. And the last time they disabled it, the Reclaimers were out for like 4 seasons. There's a pistol that's been out of the game for like the entire year, basically. Like when they disable weapons, it doesn't seem like they're super urgent on bringing them back. So that's pretty disappointing there. But this was just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what the devs have actually responded to with things that are very, very broken in game. I'm just not sure why they haven't gone through and used the COD Updates Twitter account to talk about the Call of Duty updates. Maybe it's because they don't want to promote things being too broken right now, but also that's kind of fun at times in limited quantities when things are a little bit goofy and you can use guns you don't typically because they are crazy strong. Like obviously we know it's bugged, we know it's glitched, it's going to get fixed, but I guess they just don't want to bring attention to anything, or they're trying to avoid how broken this update actually was. So first up here, just on the Black Ops 6 Trello, as you can see, there's not a whole lot going on here. There's just 2 things listed. One of these was added all the way back in May and still is not updated, and that's the Dreadnought breaking your character so you can't move after you use one in multiplayer at times. Unreal how that's still bugged and broken. And then obviously, as mentioned, as we covered late last week, Ninja is currently broken in game as well. It doesn't actually work in multiplayer. They're aware, they're looking into it. We should start to see updates and responses and actual things pushed out to address these in game rather than just with words on a screen this week. Could be as early as maybe later today. There could be some post-edit Zach in this video. Could be throughout the week as well. Obviously, if we do see any new updates go out that are significant enough, I'll be covering them in a video. So stay tuned for that alongside everything else going on in COD by hitting that subscribe button, turning on those post notifications. Also, as we go through the much larger issues being responded to on the Warzone side of things, if you enjoy the video, a like rating is always seriously appreciated as well. So when we shift over to the Warzone side, this is where the Trello board becomes a lot more detailed because since the 4th, we've seen several new things added here. But again, I'm just not sure why we have so many things listed here and so few posts on the COD Updates Twitter. That's where people typically are following, and unless you are actively going out of your way to find the Trello boards or you're tuning into my videos, for instance, not everyone is staying up to date with what's actively changing on the Trello. Meanwhile, I have it tabbed every single morning and I'm checking it constantly in case I need to cover things for videos for you guys. But first up here, I've seen so many comments about this. The body shield is currently disabled in game because they're investigating an issue. They don't specify what that issue is, but I've seen a lot of people saying, Zach, what's going on? Why can't I take anyone hostage anymore? Why can't I pick people up and use the body shield anymore? Why'd they remove this? This is a terrible decision. They didn't like remove it from the game. It's just disabled because there's some bug, there's some glitch going on with it there. So that will be back. It's just a matter of when at this point, but that's the first thing listed here. This is a big one, and we sort of alluded to this last week a little bit. They are investigating an issue where rapid fire attachments are not reducing damage as intended, which currently gives you the opportunity to make some pretty busted weapons, like specifically SMGs. You could throw rapid fire on a Jackal, on a Tanto even, to make it usable, or like a Jackal, like I said, kind of break that, make that go kind of crazy. Some other options there. There's a few combinations that can equate to some pretty crazy time to kill stats, but it's not intended. Rapid fire is supposed to reduce the damage on full auto guns, so it's not something that's going to last here going forward. But that's not even the main weapon problem going on as well. There's other very broken things going on with weapons and damage profiles that we'll get to here in just a moment. They do mention that they're still looking into buy stations on Verdansk being wrong. We covered that a little bit last week as well. So it's like they pick and choose what they're going to post about on the COD Updates account and then just add in other random things here, whereas all of this, quite frankly, should be getting talked about on their Twitter. Another broken weapon update: we're investigating an issue causing the 12 gauge slug ammo to do less damage than intended. So if you're using that right now, you're simply just putting yourself at a disadvantage, which is kind of crazy. A lot of people have been asking about the Gravemaker 357 revolver. Hey, I thought this was supposed to come with the mid-season update. Where's the new revolver at? This is going to be a part of, I think it's called the Hell Ride event. I believe that starts on the 18th, according to Reality UK. So this pistol won't be out until the 18th of that event. However, it was showing up as ground loot in game. I was able to pick it up a few times, and then it's a revolver, so of course I got fried. But it was showing up in game a little bit early, so they did take that out of ground loot, in case you're wondering what's going on with that. Another weird one: we're investigating an issue preventing players from accessing custom parachutes and contrails. For whatever reason, going in and customizing those is causing issues. So they are going through and looking into why that is. And then this is another pretty big one here: we are investigating unintended adjustments to certain attachments that are impacting the damage and range of some weapons. Basically, it seems like attachments, aftermarket parts, anything that goes through and alters the damage profile of a weapon is currently not functioning as intended. I'm not quite sure how this happens, considering this meta update was relatively minimal. Like, it did some decent things, but they didn't make drastic overhauls to a lot of systems. They addressed very specific weapons in some different ways, but it wasn't like a huge meta update. And yet, so many things broke. And funny enough, a former developer for Warzone actually chimed in on why this might have broken so many guns. So True Game Data was going through and of course updating the site and everything for Season 5 Reloaded, checking all the damage profiles and everything. And he points out that, unless I missed it in the patch notes, which is possible, there was a big stealth nerf to the Grau conversion kit. Keep in mind, that's a conversion kit that changes the damage profile. The same thing with the Jack Devastators, a conversion kit that changes the damage profile. Rapid Fire, a mod that changes the damage profile. Attachments like that completely broke with this update for whatever reason, and he shows off that there's a big nerf to the Grau conversion kit that wasn't supposed to happen. Through this, Tully Auckland, who is a former design director at Warzone, ended up saying, "This looks like an unintended change in my opinion." And True Game Data says, "Seems like there were a lot of those in this patch." There definitely were. This is one of the most bizarrely broken updates that we've seen in some time. And Tully says the reason behind this, potentially saying that it was a core tech change, changing where the data is read from. Classic. So like, they know in the past from doing different updates in Warzone that changing one thing somewhere might cause a multitude of issues. This is probably why Warzone needs to be its own standalone thing, so that updates maybe aren't as broken as they currently are, which we've been arguing for years now. Why is this not happening? But when you have so many games put into this, multiple generations of consoles, everything bloating Warzone as it stands, you end up with situations like this where one minor change might end up just changing the data read spot, and then it breaks things for potentially like this days at a time, where the update goes out, the devs head out for the weekend, and we've got a weekend of random guns being insanely overpowered and downright busted because of a minor adjustment somewhere behind the scenes. So hopefully this stuff gets sorted out here ASAP as possible, the fastest possible way, of course. And what do you know, post-edit Zach here, because they did end up dropping some minor patch notes that actually do fix some pretty major things, those we were just talking about with the whole weapon bug situation and all the damage profiles being broken. Funny enough, got an update requires restart. First thing I checked was this right as I was about to head out to the gym, and lo and behold, they did go through and adjust these things. So we've got some Monday, September 8th patch notes. They got me some birthday patch notes. What do we got on here? Bug fixes. Fix an issue causing buy stations to appear in the wrong locations on Verdansk. They're now back to where they were at the start of Season 5. Fixed an issue causing unintended adjustments to certain attachments impacting damage and range on some weapons. Fixed an issue causing a crash when taking a player hostage. An issue causing an error when hovering over Chong in the operator menu. Then also an issue with an incorrect unlock condition on the SVD full auto mod. The main focus is here though being the issue for the body shield, and obviously all the broken weapon features and damage values there. I'll have you covered with all the need to know info right here, so feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications, and if you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always seriously appreciated as well. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.